All right, guys. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Keyfauver. I have been in the space since early 2021, but I've been involved in crypto for, I don't know, probably 12 years at this point. I think I found out about Bitcoin back in 2013. I was broke and didn't have any money to invest, and I didn't understand it anyways. And then fast forward to 2017, I was sitting in my office and I think something popped up for Bitcoin, and I started looking into it. And that's when I ended up going down the rabbit hole and started investing. I got my start at a Gen 1 on-ramp leading post-sale departments. Since then, I feel like I have aged about 50 years. I'm sure all of you feel that way as well. I've survived some crypto winters. I've been a part of unicorns. I've been a part of projects that don't even exist anymore. I've seen the up and downs. I have led marketing. I've been a fractional CMO for the last year. I've led post-sales, so customer success, user support, DevRel. I've led sales and BD. I have worked very heavily with product and figuring out what their roadmaps and sprints look like, all the way down into working with engineers as well. So I think I hold the record for probably holding the most roles at this point in crypto. So I'm sure a lot of you do. And because of that, at this point, I generally think of everything interconnected. So that's what I'm going to be talking about here. So I just want to make this clear, like mapping growth, this isn't UX mapping in Figma, okay? Like this entire conversation isn't about a button placement or screen flows. This is more of like a system level customer journey mapping conversation. So I want you guys to think about zooming out to understand how every user touch points affects product, marketing, support, revenue. It's about really aligning your entire org around outcomes and not just interfaces. So I want to make that super clear here. So for the agenda, I'm going to be touching on a lot of different things, and I'll forewarn you, some of these slides have a lot of words on it. And the reason why I do this is because after this presentation, I'm going to send these slides over so you guys can take time to look at these and really digest it. And I'm not going to be there to answer your questions. So I try to put as much information on these slides. So afterwards, you guys have something to think about and look at these a little bit longer. So what I'll be focusing on overall is God mode. So you guys will see that in a minute. Thinking about the customer journey and how to map that. So this is your users, right? These are the people that are using your product. How do you map out how they are basically moving through the experience of your product? And then we're going to shift into departmental flywheels. So when I say departments throughout this conversation, I understand that you guys might only have 2 or 3 people on your team, which means you're wearing multiple hats. So when I say departments, I also mean the hats that everybody is wearing as well. So I just want to make sure you guys are thinking about it this way as well. I'm not like, this conversation isn't for a team that has 100 people. This is to help teams with small amount of team members figure out what you're doing, how to optimize each one of those verticals. Then we'll connect it to internal and external coordination. We're going to talk a little bit more about key metrics. And then I'm going to give you 2 examples. So engineering for those more technical founders in here, and then marketing for more non-technical people. All right, what is God mode? I'm sure you're all curious about this. So think about a god, right? Think about like maybe Hercules. Let's think about like Greek philosophy. Hercules is up top in the clouds, hanging out with his lightning bolt, looking down, understanding how everything works, right? He can see it from the top down versus being at ground level. You can only see what's right in front of you. You're not getting the full picture. So this is something that I want everybody to have an open mind and challenge yourself to start thinking this way. And first, what we're going to talk about is understanding your users. It's really, really important to sit and understand, okay, what do your users want? What are they missing? and then understanding how that goes into the hats that you're wearing and how to optimize that cross-functionally. I think Web3, and you guys probably feel this, especially with some of these larger companies that are out there, everything is really siloed, right? You have your sales team that just talks to the sales team, maybe marketing, right? You have your support team that is pretty much shut out from everybody else, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing. Engineering isn't really talking to community, for example. But the thing is, and you guys are going to really understand it after this conversation, is every single decision, every single change that happens ripples across every single department or concentration. And you guys will see this here in a minute. And overall, I just want you guys to think about, sometimes you have to do things that don't feel like scaling to actually scale. You might sit down and think about, oh, well, I'm just mapping this out. I'm not actually like implementing a new feature right now. I'm not necessarily going out and like having a conversation right now. And people don't understand that this actually makes your life so much easier because things are planned out. You know exactly what you need to do so that you can do these things more effectively in a shorter amount of time. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit and think about some of these things differently before I get into things. So I want you guys to start thinking about, how does this feature or this marketing campaign or this fix, right? This simple bug fix influence LTV, which is lifetime value, like how long your customers are staying and how much revenue you make from that. Your customer acquisition costs, so how much money it actually takes to bring in that new customer. And this can be a user on the retail side or B2B as well, or even B2B2C. Some of you guys have partnerships and you're white labeling your product as well. Your overall retention, your reputation, like how does this affect the entire user journey? And you really can't know that unless you sit down and really think about it and map this out. A lot of projects that I talk to, they're just reacting to their users. They're just seeing something written on socials, or maybe they're looking at a competitor, and you're just reacting to what's happening instead of actually, again, sitting down, planning, orchestrating how you're going to be different or how you can make these changes more effectively, or what change is even important. Like what do the people that are using your product or potentially using your product actually give a shit about? Because it's probably different from what you're thinking. And again, we're going to be talking about these flywheels, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But this is just a little diagram that I wanted to show you guys. You're not going in circles, you're on a downward spiral. So like, again, like shift the way that you're thinking about these things. Okay, so high level, super high level, just so you guys get the gist of what we're looking at here. So before, this is now. This is typically how people understand customer journey and how each department it contributes to this. So for customers specifically, again, like this can be retail or business partnerships. You have acquisition, you have activation, you have retention, referral, revenue, right? And typically, like I said before, these departments or these functions or the hats that you're wearing are very siloed. People think product, it only goes into activation and retention. People think support, customer success, again, which is incredibly rare in the Web3 space. It's starting to pick up a little bit more, but still very, very, very rare in the space. They think that, oh, this only goes to referral and maybe some retention. You guys will see that when I led my support teams and my customer success teams, we were actually bringing in more revenue than the sales team. Salespeople activation, marketing people acquisition. The way that you guys need to think about it now is how marketing can actually impact retention. How can it impact referral? Support can impact, really, this should go the whole way over to acquisition, in my opinion, product across the entire board. So I know it's easier to look at this and you might be thinking, well, I'm a marketer. I don't really understand support. You'll get there, I promise. And I just wanted to put this in here. Like, this is not me just preaching to you guys. Like, I am talking to projects every day. In the last 4 years, I have worked with easily over probably 1,200 projects at this point. And I'm constantly telling them, sit down, map this stuff out. And you can see like right here, this is two, like in the last 2 weeks, these are the reactions that I've had. So this first one, this person, they're launching their project and they're like, well, we're pushing out this messaging, but people are signing up and then nothing happens. And I'm like, well, what do you want them to do? Like sit down, map this out, figure out the behavior that they're taking, figure out the behavior that you want them to take, right? Like this gets into psychology. And then you can adjust your marketing messaging. You can adjust what your sales team is saying or how you're presenting this to people. And it was kind of an aha moment for this team. And then the one below, which is me, is like, I'm never wrong. I'm very sarcastic and have dry humor. So bear with me, guys. But this is my CFO at Moonbeam, and we're actually getting ready to launch a game, and we're working with 5 partnerships to build this game. And I finally was in a meeting with everybody and I said, hey, listen, like we need to think about Web3 native users. We need to think about Web2 gamers that are coming in, trying to understand Web3 and figure out what is the best path for them to get in and then how to retain them. And once they sit down and did that, oh my God, within 2 weeks, when we thought the game was going to launch in 2 months, it significantly reduced when our launch time is going to be. Okay, so very, very high level. There's really nothing on here. And this isn't necessarily a permanent way for you to start mapping customer journeys. This is just an example. I'll show you other examples here in a minute. Whatever makes the most sense for your brain is the way that you should do it, okay? If you go into Google and you search Web3 customer journey mapping, you're really not going to find anything because this isn't talked about at all in the space. But you're going to find plenty of Web2 examples, and they are relevant, and you should definitely take a look at them. But this is just very, very high level. So you'll see the different stages of your users that are coming in. Again, remember, this can be retail or business partnerships. You have awareness, consideration, decision, purchase, post-purchase. So your retention and growth, right? Post-sale growth, I guess I should say. And then within each phase, you need to think about your customer action, your touch points, the emotions. Okay, this is what's important. I know it's cheesy, guys, but like this is what gets people to try your product, to keep using your product, to connect with your team members, right? Like, what are you posting out on X? Do they feel like they're connected to you as a founder? Because your product isn't a real person with no emotions, right? People want to use products with people that they actually like. So this is actually a really important one. You have your pain points, and this is what's going to start rippling inside of your departments that we're going to get into, and then your solutions, which also is going to start rippling inside of your departments as well. So you're going to map this out for each stage. So let me show you some examples here. So this is a developer journey map. This is the most relevant one to Web3 that I could find. The website is devrelbook.com. Definitely encourage you guys to take a look at it. But if you have a DevRel team, or you're thinking about having a DevRel team, or you're acting as basically a one-person DevRel team, this is going to be relevant to you. So again, you have your stage. Again, it's a little bit different than the one above. Again, it's whatever makes sense to your brain and how you think. You have discovery, evaluate, learn, build, scale. Okay. You have your goals and your needs. What makes sense to them at each stage? What are they asking themselves at each stage? And then you have your internal touch points. Now look at this. This isn't just the DevRel team specifically. You have blogs, you have newsletters, you have case studies, you have social, right? So this is touching on your marketing team as well. You have your pricing page. This goes into finance. You have your webinars. This probably is sales right here. You have training, you have office hours. This could be your own DevRel team, but this also could be maybe your support team, your partnership, your ecosystem. There's a lot of things in here. And then your developer experience, product engineering, whoever is keeping track of this. And then you have your external touch points, which these departments are responsible for as well. So hopefully this is connecting the dots for you guys. Here's an example. All right, don't be overwhelmed. I know there's a lot of words on this, but I want you guys to take this and go explore this after this conversation. And if we have enough time at the end, maybe we can come back and look at this. This is an example that I created for users discovering a brand new wallet. Very, very easy. There's 1,100,000 wallets out there that you can pick from. This is just a journey for a generic wallet, okay? I put a ton of stages here because, again, as you guys are trying to figure this out, you need to see what makes sense for your brain and the way that you think about this. You can use all of these, you can use less of these, you can use more of these, depends on how deep you want to go into it. But we have the user action at each of these stages, okay? These should be pretty obvious to you guys. We have the touch points, so how are they discovering or dealing with this stage? We have common friction. So this is the important part, right? These are the bottlenecks. These are the things that you want to fix. And you want to get to it before your community, before your users, before your business partners come to you and say, hey, well, this is a problem. You want to have this mapped out and thought about and prioritized in order from what impacts revenue the most to what is something that's like, okay, maybe we can do a hot fix on this and we'd be good for a little bit. And then you have opportunities here. Okay, like how do we fix this? Feels disconnected from team roadmap. Okay, well, let's think about beta program or community grants or user council access. Okay, so there's a lot of things in here. I'm going to give you guys a minute to look at this. I have another example we'll look at on the next slide as well. All right, let's go to the next page. All right, here's a little bit of a different version. This is for a DeFi TGE. Again, like very generic. I actually added an extra row here, or I guess column here, engineering-led fix. Again, I assume a lot of you guys probably are technical founders. If not, that's okay. I have non-technical examples coming up. But you can see here, like, okay, you have your friction point at each of these phases. Then you have your engineering fix, and then you have your resulting impact, okay? So an engineering fix leads to user click-throughs and stays to explore. Well, this is kind of like a marketing thing that leads into sales, okay? I'll give you guys a minute to look at this. Here's another example here. I hear somebody raising their hands. Give me 1 second. So like updated logs goes into less support tickets. So you guys can see, like, okay, how is this engineering fix actually impacting these other departments? Go ahead, whoever's raising your hand. I'm going to come back so I can see you guys.
Yeah, so I have a question here. Like, who should lead this process? Like, I understand that probably, you know, if they're a team of 3, then it's quite obvious. But normally, would it be the product manager? If the team grows, who should lead this process normally in the team?
It depends on what you guys are trying to fix, right? If the sales team is frustrated with something, they should sit down, map it out so that when they go to the other departments for a solution, they can point to it and say, well, this, and this. For this example, maybe it is engineering. Engineering is sitting down, looking at this and saying, okay, here's all the things that we're going to fix, right? This can be marketing. This doesn't have to be an engineering-led fix. All these things can go into marketing. Learns about a new token launch via social post or referral. Okay, Touchpoints is X, Discord, Web3 media site, another slow DApp skepticism. What else can marketing do here that impacts this, right? This doesn't have to necessarily be an engineering fix. So it depends on the department and depends on which department is struggling the most. It depends on if you are at your company in general is at kind of like a block in the wall and you don't know what to do next, right? Like maybe your acquisition funnel is slow or trickling or you're starting to lose customers. Sitting down, mapping this out will help you see, again, like put you into God mode and understand from the top down, like, okay, what's the full picture here? Did someone else raise their hand? No? Okay. Does that answer your question, Eugene?
If I may, I'll jump with another one. Like, when you build B2B, do you go through the same process as well, or is it like completely different?
No, it's the same exact process. Same exact process.
I think after every session, people are taking in how much work do they need to do.
I know, right? Don't be intimidated by this. Once you sit down and think about it, you're like, oh yeah, like everybody is like very funneled. Like whatever, if you're a product person and you have only done product, sitting down and doing this type of exercise, you will actually be surprised at how creative you can be with sales or with marketing or with support or whatever it is. Because you might not have had the opportunity to think this way. But here's the thing, you're only thinking product. So your ideas that you come up with sales is probably something new that the sales team isn't thinking about, because sales is just running through the same thing that they always do as well, right? So getting a fresh idea in there actually helps more. Like it actually brings more creative ideas. And as people are throwing out these different ideas and these different perspectives, it's sparking new creativity in your other teams as well, or even in yourself. Again, if you're like me and you wear 50 million hats right now, I am working with 2 L1s, and I'm doing account management, I'm doing BD, I'm doing marketing, and I'm leading the grants team, right? So like I'm wearing 4 hats right now for 2 L1s. So I need to sit and I need to think about these things, and I am constantly talking with the other departments to be like, hey, am I crazy? This is how I map this out, and this is how I'm thinking. What is your perspective, right? And then you start bouncing ideas off each other, and now you have this whole brand new idea and something to do a little bit differently versus just copying, a Coinbase or copying, a Circle or whoever's big right now, right? Okay, let's move on. Let's go into departmental flywheel, so this makes a little bit more connection for you guys.
There is a question in the chat. How do you switch mindset across different roles?
Listen, you need to sit down and just think about it. Like that's really the answer. Just sit down and think about it. Talk to people. It's easier to sit down. Think about if I didn't have this presentation and I'm like, hey guys, this is customer journey mapping and there's different stages. You guys are gonna be like, wait, what the fuck? Like you have all these things and I'm not understanding. It's not making sense because you're just saying words to me. Now, if I come back and say, okay, guys, this is my idea. This is what I'm thinking about for the D by TGE. And what I noticed is, we have sluggish price updates and we need to do this. How's a different way to do this? And how can we push this into marketing? And how can this go into our website to push for SEO so that we can beat, this other TGE that's happening the same day? Right? So now you actually have it written out and people can see these words and they can make the connections in their head. And now they can actually give you better feedback and have better conversations as well. Wouldn't you guys be confused if you didn't even see this? You'd be like, this girl is crazy. What are you even talking about? That's the point of this. And it doesn't feel like scaling. I promise you, when you sit down and you are building this out, you're like, oh, this just doesn't, I feel like I'm doing nothing, right? Okay, guess what? This is mapped out. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody understands the same plan. And now you can go and actually execute it instead of taking a week trying to think and figuring it out in one line of vision. Now you have God mode and you understand how it impacts every single department or hat, and you connect the dots. And
there is one more question in the chat. How do you organize such different tasks during the day? How do you shift the mode of thinking quickly between completely different activities and stay focused?
Well, that's a great answer because typically departments are siloed, right? They're siloed and they don't know how to communicate with each other. But when you sit and you have this map laid out, you can have one meeting and I can sit and be like, okay, engineering, we're going to do this, 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 and this, right? Now we need to talk to support to make sure that they're building out, to make sure that they're prepared to know that their tickets are going to reduce in this and to start thinking about what's the next feature that needs to go out. And they're probably going to be able to say, okay, well, now that I don't have to worry about this, I'm tracking this. And now this is a new feature. This is a new break. Let's say that, hey, this is a new break. How do we fix this? Now support might sit down and actually build out their own map. And now they're going to say, okay, well, product, this is actually impacting revenue. We're losing $10,000 a day because of this issue. We need to go to marketing, and marketing needs to push out messaging for this. The sales team needs to adjust their pitch for the new projects that are coming in. Your post-sale team, that again, very rare. You have a customer success team, and that's a B2B example. They go to their partners and they say, hey, we just pushed out a fix for this. Make sure that you are pushing out in your newsletter to your users that this has been fixed, and to now go check it out, right? Now, instead of losing $10,000 a day, you're making $30,000 a day because your team has this map. It's all coordinated, and you didn't have to have 50 million meetings to try to figure it out.
And the smaller the team, the easier it is, right? Because everyone is kind of on the same page, I guess.
Maybe, potentially. I mean, I've been in orgs. I mean, I've led teams that I've had 3 departments under my belt with more than 50 people, right? And then I've had managers below me, and then the managers maintain the people, right? So it depends on what your structure is and your ability of your managers to project manage, right? So if you have a bunch of leaders, the leaders need to come together and understand exactly what's going on. You have this, right? And they can go back to their teams and say, okay, here's a visual, here's a map. This is what we're going to do, right? And then they can project manage that way. If you're wearing multiple hats, well, now you can sit down and you can project manage yourself.
Yeah, because if we're talking about the teams of 5, it's so much easier, right? Because everyone can just get together and discuss it without all of this organizational mess.
Yep. What happens is, like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There gets to be too many cooks in the kitchen. I see teams that say, oh, well, we want everybody's opinion on this. We want to feel like a team. But guess what? That actually gets more frustrating for people, because nobody's making a decision. And when you don't make a decision, you're sitting on it for 3 days. And when nothing is happening for 3 days and your product is broken, or you're not getting messaging out, how much revenue is that impacting? Because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right? At the end of the day, you got to make a decision. You got to have a plan. You need to go for it. You need to do it. And even if it doesn't work, well, now you know that it doesn't work even quicker, and you can pivot even quicker, because now you have a plan and you can look at this plan and say, well, this didn't work. Let's go back and like remap this out differently. Instead of just trying different things and seeing what works. Now you're keeping track of it, right? So let's keep going. All right, departmental flywheels. All right, here's an example. Now we're shifting internally, okay? Beforehand, this was understanding your customers, basically their behavior, the psychology behind it, right? Like what is the journey that they're currently taking, and what is the journey that you want them to take, right? How are you tweaking that and playing on the behavioral aspect of it? Now let's take a look internally at all the hats in the departments. I think this is going to answer some of the questions that you guys were just asking me. So for me, this is like a real example that I had. So for me, like my support team was a sales funnel. It directly impacted marketing and actually impacted growth as well. I think a lot of people, like, support isn't super thought about in Web3. Typically it goes to like dev realm, maybe it goes to the sales team, maybe it goes to community, but having a support team is actually a revenue generating department in my opinion. So the way that I was thinking about it is, I mean, let's go through these bullet points. So you really think that your active users are the only ones checking your FAQs? Like, this is a lead magnet. How many times have you guys discovered a new project and you're clicking around on the website and you see some FAQs and you're like, okay, this makes sense. This is helping me out. Maybe I will go try that product. Okay, that is a lead. They just captured you as a lead in their FAQs and their support docs. You guys understand that, right? And if you think about your FAQs, wiggle in a new product waitlist. You're going in to learn about them, or maybe you're a current user and you're trying to learn more about I don't know, the back end because you're a product nerd and you just want to know how they're doing this, right? Okay, well, here's information about this product, but guess what? We're launching a new product. Go sign up at this wait list. Here's a link. Go sign up. We'll let you know when it launches so that you can be the first one to use it. That's a lead captured from your support team taking care of FAQs, not your marketing, your support team. Not only that, if you have these short little, you can call them blogs, even your FAQs, just short form content in there, that contributes to your SEO. That is marketing, right? And this is something that they probably can work with marketing on. Again, perfect example of why teams should not be siloed. This can help your SEO if you have the right keywords in there. You're going to pop up higher in Google or Brave or whatever browser you're in. Again, like this is lowering your acquisition cost because you're not paying for KOLs. You don't have to pay for podcasts or whatever. Like this is an opportunity for people to come explore a little bit more, understand what's going on. Now you have CTAs. Now they're discovering you more, and it's basically top of funnel. Another thing, like this goes into CTAs or giving a little bit more information than just reading a few sentences about your questions. Make sure you link to your demos, your upgrades, your podcasts. Again, like this is just another way to capture people. I mean, even think about like B2B. How many, if you guys have experience in B2B and your product is B2B, think about you go, you check out this new product. You're probably going to want to go look at a demo, right? And that demo is what's probably going to sell you versus looking at a presentation like this with a sales guy. That's support. That's your support. That's your DevRel. So this is just an example of how your different hats and your different departments can actually impact revenue at the end of the day. So think about that a little bit differently. Here's another point of view. Again, like I'm gonna talk about post sales because there's not a lot of it in Web3, and I want to change a lot of people's opinions on this. When you have post sale, they're the ones that, in my opinion, should be driving your roadmap. Because think about it, you're doing a sales call and they don't close, they're not going to come back and keep talking to you. Most of the time, they're just going to ghost you. They're not even going to tell you why they didn't go with you. And now you've lost that data point. But if you have a post-sale team that is actually having conversations with your current users, this is a B2B version, but this can be retail as well. Post-sale in this instance would probably be considered more community related, maybe even support related, but they're the ones that are actually understanding the pain points. What do they like? What don't they like? Hey, what's on your roadmap? Are you guys expanding to different areas? What departments are you guys looking to expand on your side? If they're looking to expand, marketing, hey, what kind of co-marketing can we do together, right? Stuff like that. Not only that, once you guys scale a little bit more and you have more partners aligned, there's your alpha and beta partners. They're the ones that are going to come in, they're going to test your product. You're going to be having the conversations with them, showing them that you actually care about their opinion. You're going to be building the product influenced by them. You're going to be building it for them, right? So that when you go live, you instantly have a paying customer. And guess what? You didn't have to pay for marketing to find a new customer and convince them to come in and go through that entire sales cycle. You just upsell them. That's how your post-sale team brings in more revenue than your sales team. And I will say this, like a lot of teams, they overload sales and then they ask their sales or BD team to do post-sale, like customer success stuff. And I think sales teams, they love to keep in contact with their partners that they close. By all means, they definitely should. In fact, it's even better if you have a customer success guy and a sales and BD guy, both keeping in touch with that partner. This goes into like the emotional connection, right? Like you want to do business with your friends, right? You want to do business with people that you like. You want to go to these conferences and hang out with that person, right? And guess what? Now that they like you, they're going to go and refer anybody that they talk to come and work with you. That's free marketing, and that is the highest conversion that you can get. Think about when you somebody says, hey, I tried out this restaurant. It's so good. You should go check it out. You're probably going to go check it out more than if you saw an ad on, I don't know, you're scrolling Instagram or Twitter or something, right? It's the same concept. Again, like I hear somebody raise their hand. Let me go over this last point and then I'll open it up. So this might feel like it's siloed, and I promise you the point isn't to be siloed. It's to set expectations for what you're focusing on, but to still continue to work cross-functionally, right? So you have 3 salespeople, 1 post-sale person. Sales should be closing, bringing it in. Customer success should be maintaining those conversations, making sure that these people are not going to churn, updating them on what's coming down the roadmap, getting referrals. They should be growing and listening. They should be taking what sales closed and 3-4xing it. But they should be communicating together. And what I mean is, like, customer success should be saying, hey, like, you set this expectation, which wasn't realistic. Maybe adjust how you're saying that. Or like, hey, all my partners are saying, I love this feature. Make sure that you're highlighting this initially in your conversations. And then sales, the same thing, should be giving the same information back to customer success as well. Hey, we have X, Y, and Z partners coming down the pipeline. We're going to be growing. We're doing successful. You guys should definitely not leave us because we have so much more coming down the pipeline, right? Like, they should be working together. Okay. What kind of questions you guys have?
Yeah, I have a question again here. I think, like, addressing something that probably was asked in the chat as well is the question, how do you structure this when you have a very small team, you know, from 3 to 5 people, where you don't have a separate salesperson, you don't have a post-sales person? Do you have any advice for the teams? How should they separate or shouldn't separate, you know, like this kind of work?
Yep.
Or should they like all be in sales and in customer success? Or should be like the founder doing this and like CTO guy doing, you know, his kind of work?
And I know a lot of these teams are very, very small. The point of me bringing this up is for you guys to think about how to scale, right? Especially if you guys are raising VC funding, maybe think about like, okay, instead of getting 5 sales guys, maybe I get 4 sales guys and 1 post-sale person, right? That's the point of this. If you are wearing multiple hats, which I always do, the best way to do it is optimize how you are tracking things, whatever you're using for your CRM. Okay, I don't expect you guys to be paying $100 million bajillion for like Salesforce or HubSpot or something. In fact, like, don't do that. Don't actually do that at this early stage. Use an Airtable, or, I mean, we use Airtable at Moonbeam right now, and we use it at Near. Or use your, you know, your Google Drive and keep track of these things. What I encourage you guys to do is sit down and look at sales metrics versus post-sale metrics, and look at those and understand what they are and focus on the ones that are most important to you, right? If you're at this very early stage, you're probably going to be focusing on retention and health, right? And what I mean is, like, you don't want those people to leave. Once you capture them, you want them to stick around. As you're bringing in more partners, you're building in more revenue, maybe you're closing your rounds. Now you have more money. Now you can start thinking about growth, right? So you can go back and you can say, okay, like this partner has high health scores. They're very satisfied. They would refer, or they have referred my product to other people. Let's go back to them, get them to be alpha testers, beta testers, whatever. Get them to give us feedback so that we can implement these changes in, you know, a month versus 6 months and guessing about it. And now instantly you have an upsell, right? You've tracked all that in your CRM. That's just one example. Hopefully,
yeah, I just dropped in the chat that if you will opt for HubSpot, we have a 90% discount with them now.
There you go. So maybe use HubSpot. HubSpot.
Yeah, yeah, because we had 75% discount. Now it's 90%. We just updated it like a month ago.
Hey, if you can get your hands on HubSpot for 90% off, go for it, guys. But make sure you get it for 90% off, right?
Yeah, I would not pay the full price either.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's look at some of these metrics that we talked about. All right, I'll go over some of these because some of these might be new to you guys. potentially, maybe. LTV, total revenue over the time that somebody is using your product, right? So your LTV in B2B, hopefully you guys have a reoccurring revenue model to where they are paying monthly, potentially. Maybe you can get them to sign up for a year. I don't know what that looks like, right? But LTV on the retail side is like, okay, somebody keeps coming back and using your product. Let's say somebody uses your product once a week. Okay, as long as they use it once a week, then they're considered an active user, right? So like you need to define what that looks like, but this is over the lifetime that they are using your product. Customer acquisition cost. This is how much money it actually costs to bring in a user or a partnership that generates revenue, right? So a lot of that goes into marketing, but it also goes into sales. It also goes into DevRel, it goes into your community. There's a lot that goes into that, right? This is why I'm saying customer success is so important, because when you get your testers or you're maintaining those relationships, well, your acquisition cost decreases a lot. Average revenue per user, it can be per month, it can be year, it can be 6 months, it can be quarter, whatever that time frame is, right? Retention, you guys know what that is. Churn, you know what that is. Activation, you know what that is. Time to value. So this is how, think about this is how long somebody's kind of like hovering around thinking about, am I going to use your product? And then once they use your product, this can also be defined as like onboarding. So how long does it take them? Let's say integrations, for example. So like, I don't know, you're white labeling your product to somebody. Your onboarding time is 45 days. Okay, your time to value is 45 days. If you can reduce that onboarding time to 35 days, you have 10 days more that you're making revenue. So this can go to like retail. Think about like the wallet, let's say the wallet example. How long does it take for somebody to like actually spin up this wallet? If somebody comes on, they try to spin it up, but then they can't figure out your, I don't know, your on-ramps or something like that. Well, this is where the customer journey mapping comes into, right? Like, where are those bottlenecks and how can that contribute to your onboarding? How can that contribute to what your sales team is doing to bring them on, or even your marketing messaging or your support, right? So hopefully this is making sense on how this stuff is all tying in to optimize your time. Okay, let's talk about these flywheels. So this is like a level 1 example, what I say. This is what I call it. So this is an engineering example because it's starting with an engineering performance fix, okay? So you've already done your journey mapping, you figured out this bottleneck, whatever it is, right? Okay, so engineering has this performance fix, which leads product faster UX. Marketing now has new messaging. Sales has a stronger pitch. Support has fewer tickets. Customer success has higher C-stat. This is customer satisfaction score. This is basically like, hey, would you refer my product to somebody? You have community, positive community buzz, DevRel, more integrations. Now, obviously, all these different things might not make sense for, you know, your team right now, and that's all right. But you still need to be thinking in this sense. And this sure is a flywheel, right? But think about this. Your customer success now has a higher C-stat, and your partners are saying, well, I like this, and this is why I'm going to refer you. Guess what? Customer success should be going to marketing and saying like, hey, we have all these partners that are super happy with us. Let's do co-marketing together. Now you're tapping into their communities. You push out, let's say like a Twitter thread or something like that. You're tapping to all those new users that potentially turns into revenue. And that's a super, super low customer acquisition cost because you're not paying, let's say, KOLs, which are crazy expensive and most of the time, you know, don't perform as well as you want them to do, right? Now you're doing partner marketing. You have faster UX from the product team. Community, that directly impacts community buzz. All this stuff doesn't have to happen for community buzz to happen, okay? The new messaging that you pushed out, co-marketing, now you have more integrations. They skipped the sales team. They went directly to DevRel and they're like, I don't need to talk to anybody. Let's just get this integration going. See how this works? See how all these things, it kind of bounces off of each other? It's kind of like a ping pong effect. So that's why I'm saying, like, your hats that you're wearing in your departments should not be siloed. Like, sure, they have things that they need to focus on and they need to do and they need to be responsible, but being able to think about, okay, how can support actually help marketing to bring in more revenue? How can community support engineering to give feedback to impact more revenue? Okay, it doesn't have to be this exact circle. All right, let's actually look at this a little bit more. So I broke this down. This is an engineering example. Don't worry, I have a non-technical example, but you don't need to be an engineer to understand this. So here's a very, very simple example. Engineering reduces a page load time from 3.5 seconds to 1.2 across the app. This is not a lot, right? I feel like if you are maybe, I don't know, marketing person, are you going to really care about this? Are you going to really think like, oh, let's market this exact time change, right? Well, let's look at it a little bit more so you guys can think about it. And we'll start at marketing because I just brought it up. So the impact, well, instead of saying, oh, we reduced the time from 3.5 seconds to 1.2, no one's going to give a shit about this, right? Okay, but the messaging should be like, it's 2 times faster now. And because this messaging is going out, now you have higher click-through rates on ads, which means more people are clicking on it when they're seeing it. Now you have more people that are actually going to your landing page and they're sticking around longer. They're not just going to it and then leaving. They're like, oh, 2 times faster. Let me take a look at this. What are the features here? What's going on? How do I sign up to it? How much does this cost, right? Now they're actually exploring what's going on. And you can go into your web page analytics and you can look at the user journeys on there and understand where people are staying and where they're bouncing. Now you can optimize your web page even more. Now you can tell your sales team to direct people to this website because it's got the highest conversions, right? There's so many different ways to think about this. We'll go back to product and the impact. I'm not going to read through all of this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, like, now your feature usage has increased because marketing pushed this out, right? Now you have more active users, you have a higher conversion to paid plans. Just from this. Look, we're going to keep going. You have sales. Now sales team can say, oh, it's 2 times faster. We're better than our competitors. Now your demos are closing much quicker, right? People are actually showing up to your demos because you pushed out this messaging. Now you have a faster close cycle. And because your UX is better, you can actually close bigger deals now because people are paying attention. We'll go into support. Well, your support, your tickets, your timeout error tickets have dropped. Now there's less tickets coming in, and now your support team can actually focus more on resolving other issues. They can go back to their backlog. Now they can go to product team and say, hey, you need to adjust your sprints because this is the next new issue that's coming out and it needs to be fixed because we're losing $5,000 in revenue a second, right? Not really, but you know where I'm getting at here. Customer success. Now they can go to your, again, like this is a B2B example. Customer success is typically B2B, but now they can go to your partners and say, hey, like, we're now 2 times faster. Like look at all the things that we're doing. Now they're going to be happy. They're less likely to leave because you're updating things. You're upgrading whatever is the issues that are going on, right? You're getting ahead of it because maybe maybe partners didn't even know that things are going slow, right? So now you're going to them and you're proactively saying, hey, we fixed this thing. They didn't even know what was going on, but you already proactively fixed it, right? Now your retention improves and your lifetime value is improved because they're not leaving you. They're sticking around. Yes, we can keep going. We can do this for every single concentration and department. Your community, everybody knows things are faster. Now there's the positive buzz, right? They're sharing stuff publicly. This is free marketing, by the way. This is what I'm saying when people push out positive information. Hey, I love this. Now it's 2 times faster and I can feel it and it's amazing. You should go check this out. You didn't pay that customer to post that. You didn't have to pay your marketing people to push this. You didn't have to pay a KOL to push this. You didn't have to pay to be on a podcast to talk about it. This person is pushing it out to their community, and now you're reaching a whole slew of users that you didn't use before that is more likely to go check out your product because the person that they trust posted it, right? It's kind of like a free KOL, in my opinion. This is what I'm saying. This is top of funnel growth. Your community is now impacting top of funnel revenue, not your sales. Your community is. And then again, your DevRel. We kind of go into this, but again, it leads to more integrations. So here's the summary impact. Okay. Your activation goes up, your acquisition cost goes down, your retention goes up, your ticket volume goes down, your churn goes down. You have a higher LTV, right? Remember, people are sticking around longer. Your acquisition cost goes down because you're not pushing so much marketing out. And your average revenue per users and upsells goes up. And at the end of the day, you have more revenue. And guess what? You can take all of this and say all these things are happening when you're talking to VCs and show that, hey, I actually have a plan. I understand what's going on. I understand how each department is contributing to this, and this is how we're going to be making more money, and this is how you're going to get a return on your investment, right? You can map out your roadmap, your timelines a little bit better, have a better understanding and speak to this a little bit better when you guys are potentially fundraising. Okay. Who's got a question? I'm going to take a drink because my throat is getting dry.
Yeah, I just wanted to super short story regarding the latency time. I just remembered, when Counter-Strike developer told the story where people were complaining about getting a 90 millisecond ping, and people are complaining, and even though it's completely well, so he said that they just slashed it in half. They didn't do anything. They didn't change anything in the code. They just showed a number that was divided by 2, and everyone started saying, "Oh, it's so much faster now. It feels so much better." Even if they didn't do anything, but they said we've improved the ping, and everyone did. Yeah, I mean, it feels so good now, even though they haven't changed the line of code.
Yeah. I remember playing. Oh man, I used to play Counter-Strike. Oh my God, I'm not going to tell you guys how old I am, but probably 18 years ago when you could walk through walls and stuff, and it was brand new on Steam. I remember that.
Yeah, so that was the story of how you can make all of the things you said here without actually doing the actual improvement.
Listen.
No, I'm not advising that.
The way you want to take it, right? Take it the way. Maybe make sure that you can prove it, because you're going to have the troll come by and be like, oh, guess what? I have measured this, right? So maybe be careful with those things. But the point is something as simple as that can have an impact across every single department. Just understanding the psychology of your customers and what they think about it and how they discover that information. All right, let's go on. I have another case study really quick. We'll go through it again. This is more of a marketing example. So the case study example, how X company uses us. Again, more B2B. But yeah, I just threw out a very easy example here. All right, so marketing, they launched this new campaign, right? The new narrative and visuals highlight real-world use of your product. Your marketing qualified leads go up 40%. Your click-through rates on ads jump up, which means you have people that are more likely to convert, and people are actually clicking on the ads that you're paying for, right? So your customer acquisition cost actually lowers. Your sales funnel is actually quicker too. Your sales, obviously, what I just said, your leads surge, right? They can also use your case study as an example and a demo for people. That's going to sell them. They don't even necessarily have to talk to these people now to potentially close it. They can just say hey, go check out the demo. Maybe that's a reason why they do come and talk to the sales team instead of the other way around. Once they do talk to the sales team, they're probably going to close quicker because they've already seen the product. And with a higher close rate, you're going to make more revenue per person. Product. All right, you got a new feature request from this. New prospects and users want the same feature combo used in the case study. So now you have a surge in this feature. Your roadmap is validated, right? Go to VCs and tell them that. like they're gonna love that. And you can tell them how you got to this point, right? And then obviously you're gonna make more money. Engineering, prioritize maintenance or scalability fixes, right? They ensure that the infrastructure can support the new use case demand. You have more system stability, deploy frequency, and now you don't have all these bottlenecks, which leads to support tickets or people in your community saying, this sucks, I hate this, don't use this, right? Total opposite. Support, they're going to be able to update their docs before this goes out, right? So now your support has new FAQs, potentially with new call to actions, which goes to the demo, which potentially leads to a sale, right? Like we've been talking about. Your ticket deflection goes up, which means support isn't, answering tickets all day. They're actually looking at the data points and being able to contribute to these other departments like we talked about. Resolution time goes down, which means you don't necessarily have a backlog. Your support person isn't spending 4 hours trying to figure out the answer to, a problem. Now they can resolve it instantly, or maybe they have a canned response that instantly goes out for this. And then again, you have your lower churn rate. Customer success. Now you have your tailored onboarding paths, right? They can start segmenting users who fit this case study profile. What I mean by this is like all the projects and partnerships that you already have, right? You need to have, a pool of current partnerships for you to even have a customer success person. So like, let's be clear on that. But once you have that pool, they have these case studies. Now they can go to the people that are currently in your pipeline and say, hey, like we have this partner, they were a beta tester, they've been using it, this is how they're using it, this is a success, this makes sense for you. These are kind of like your competitors. You should definitely integrate this, right? So now time to value goes down, expansion likelihood goes up, you have a higher upsell. That's what I literally just talked about. And then your LTV is going to extend too, because they are buying more of your products instead of leaving and going to a competitor with something else, right? Your community, your engagement surges. Again, like I feel like I don't have to go through all of these. Your DevRel, again, increase integrations. So just from pushing out a case study, your acquisition goes up, your demo to close goes up, your acquisition cost goes down, your retention goes up, your feature usage goes up, your time to value goes down, your ticket volume goes down, your forecast accuracy goes up. All these things happen just from pushing out a simple case study. Again, like I won't go over all of these. And don't mind this, your paragraph text there. Obviously, I didn't delete that. But hopefully all this makes sense to you guys, and it's starting to connect the dots, and you guys are thinking about things a little bit differently. Here's a high level example. All those words and everything, I know I told you, I warned you guys, I have a lot of words on all of these slides, but this is how it works in practice, right? You have your bottleneck. Whatever the bottleneck was, you guys decided, I'm going to push out this case study, which is your new marketing campaign, right? Leads to more sales. You have your feature demand, you have your roadmap shift, you have fewer support tickets, your expectations reset, your community grows, you have your new demo, right? And then this is how this campaign affects each and every single thing. Okay. Again, I won't go over this because I know we're a little bit over on time. So TLDR, right? What did we learn? So God mode, it's systems thinking. Look from the top down, try to make connections with everything instead of just seeing what's directly in front of you. You're a product manager, you put up your walls, you're only doing product stuff. You need to think about how sales can leverage something you're doing, how engineering can leverage something you're doing, how community can leverage something you're doing, right? You need to remove the silos, which goes into my second bullet point, right? Like this needs to be orchestration. And then again, like your customer journey is not linear, as I think you guys noticed from here. I mean, all the way back to the other charts that I had, you notice it's kind of here, there, and everywhere. There's a lot of different paths that customers can take. You need to understand what they are taking and what you want them to do, map that out, and then how does each department contribute to that fix or that behavior change. And then here's just TLDR of you guys can follow me on LinkedIn. I post out a bunch of stuff like this on LinkedIn and Twitter. I've got a few podcasts. This one talks a lot about post-sale stuff. Here, talking about more growth opportunities, talk a little bit more about like DevRel in this one. This is a little bit more information about my time as a fractional CMO. And then this is just unlimited spotlight, talking a little bit about payments and my journey and thoughts around growth as well. So I hope I gave everybody things to think about and this was useful. This isn't like your traditional, like, here's the growth strategy and this is what you do. This is more trying to get you guys to think outside of the box and understand how something as simple as like FAQs can actually impact your revenue.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And I think, and people, I think you mentioned that you will be sharing the deck, right?
I'm going to share the deck. That's why I put so many words on the deck so that you guys can actually sit with this and think about it a little bit more, because like this can be overwhelming. And I'll tell you guys, I've been doing this for 20 years, right? Like I have led sales teams, I've led customer success teams, I've led marketing teams, I've led support, right? So for me, it has taken me over a decade to really understand how this goes. But that's because I took my time in each of these departments to really understand, okay, how can I scale this? Okay, well, this can actually lead into this, right? Like I had to sit with each one of these functions to really think about it, but you guys don't need to take a decade to do it. All you need to do is just have something mapped out, understand the questions that you need to think about with, other experts in their field, or maybe you're wearing multiple hats. If you sit down and write this out and really think about it, you're going to be able to spark different thoughts about this. Like it seems simple and it might be a little intimidating too, but I think once you sit down and actually write this out and think about it, it's going to make your lives so much easier and you're going to be able to scale more effectively. You're not going to have to spend as much money doing it because you're not just throwing out ideas and going for it. You actually have it mapped. You actually have a plan. Once you guys figure this out, you can go to VCs and you can show them a roadmap, and you can, instead of just saying like, here's my roadmap, I think it's going to make sense. You can say, this is going to make sense because we're doing this, 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 and this, and this is how it's going to affect revenue. And this is how you're going to get a return. And this is why it's different from X, Y, and Z competitor. You're going to have it all mapped out and you're going to be able to have those answers.
And yeah, that was awesome. And if you can, you could just share it with us, and we will share it further with the teams. The deck, and it's awesome. You confirm the thing that we just say all the time, that don't start with a solution. Everyone is jumping straight to the solution. People are not starting with a problem with the users, with what they're expecting. A lot of the founders, they just like, okay, we have this product, we will be developing it, and then we will try and find the market for it, and we will try to find the way to push it on people, even though you need to make it basically the other way around, right?
Yeah. I think like you don't scale by adding more. You scale by aligning what you already have, right? And I think the point of God mode is really, zooming out enough to see that one change actually moves 10 teams and 10 metrics, right? So being able to orchestrate that, and to be able to orchestrate that, you need to have a plan, document it, right? So that, how many times have you guys gone into a meeting? You're like, okay, guys, let's do this, this, and this. Now break. And it wasn't recorded. It wasn't documented. And then you come back next week and people are like, oh, I forgot about it. I didn't, or, oh, I thought you meant this. When it's documented and it's there, anybody can go back and look at it. Maybe they come back in 3 days and they look at it again and they're like, actually, you know what? I have this other idea that might even be better. Or actually I have this other idea. Once we're done with this, we should implement this because, and then you have that waterfall effect, right?
Have we got any questions? Because I see that people love the session. I wonder if they are too puzzled and
yeah, was this worth it to you? Like, is this beneficial? I feel like not a lot of people in Web3 talk about, especially not support, especially not customer success. Again, like I know you guys are very, very early, but it's something for you guys to think about, like maybe adding this function like as an extra hat that you're wearing, or now you guys can plan a little bit more in the future. Maybe you close that round and you can start thinking about, okay, like how can these other people that I'm bringing in with these functions not only optimize that concentration, but contribute to revenue more? Because at the end of the day, like sales teams are very expensive. They are an expensive person to hire, right? But if you have a support team that can take care of your users, but also contribute to revenue, okay, that goes into accounting, and that is money that you guys can use for, maybe you do a KOL campaign, right? Or, you know, I don't know, maybe you hire somebody to redo your website, or you pay for Lovable to optimize your website more. I don't know what it is, right? Nowadays you have AI, right? Your support person doesn't even need to be a support person. Maybe you take time to build out a AI chatbot that does your support and answers questions. I've done that. I did that all the way back in 2021 and reduced my support tickets by 40%. And I pretty much, my support team was overstaffed at that point, right? So I had to make decisions on what to do at that point. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you guys can sit and think about it and do it. I just want you guys to think outside of the box and not necessarily follow the traditional paths per se.
yeah, and this was definitely very, very important. And I mean, like, the amount of DMs we have in our accounts asking for the deck is probably the biggest ever. So
okay, so I'll give everybody my wallet address, and you can send me 1 Bitcoin, and when I get that, then I will send the deck.
I mean, it's okay, we're keeping the deck hostage.
I'm just kidding. Of course, I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah, so I think you know, it just people need to process that. I think, you know, after many sessions, it's just the things. These are the things that a lot of founders don't even think about. You know, these are the things that a lot of people kind of postpone because they think, okay, we're working on the product, and they don't focus on the things they need to focus before going to the VCs. And VCs, if they will see you've done that, you know, they will be impressed. If you will have a proper GTM strategy, that's what we say, they will be impressed. They will understand that you've put much more thought than most of the founders did. And that will give you the edge immediately, right?
Well, not only that, they want to know how you're making money, right? You're applying for grants, you're going and talking to VCs. If you don't have the answer for how you're making money, what they're going to see is, okay, you're just going to come back after we give you this money and say, we need more money to support us because we're not making money. You're not going to get funded unless you understand what that funnel looks like. How are you making money? How are you bringing in more retail users? How are you bringing in more partnerships? What are you doing there? How are you doing it cost effectively? How are you budgeting this, right? Like, what's your data desk look like? All this goes back into that. And if you guys have this mapped out, you can rattle this stuff off so quickly. They're going to be so impressed. You're probably going to get less questions because you know the answers to the more important questions they're going to ask you at the beginning, right? So now you don't need to have 3 or 4 meetings and try to keep them warm and try to meet up with them at these conferences. Now you're meeting up with them in conferences because they've invested in you, and now you're talking business, right? Instead of convincing them to actually invest in you. One other thing that I would love to say is I highly encourage you guys to consider generalists at such an early stage, because they're the ones that can think like this. There's like such a stigma with generalists. And the thing is, like, they're actually, I would say I am an expert at sales. I would say I'm an expert at customer success. I am an expert at support. I am an expert at marketing. You can make me head of any of these departments and I can come in and lead a team and lead a strategy in that, right? I am 100% a generalist, and I can think about it this way, and you can bring me into a product team that doesn't have exposure like I do, and I can bring something different outside of the box that your product team that has been doing product for 10 years wouldn't even think about, right? And there are generalists out there that can do it. They're the ones that are brought in to think outside of the box and fix problems that your teams don't have the exposure to do. So don't discount the people that have that full funnel experience, because they probably are going to be one of your best assets.
And I think especially people that have prior experience in sales, they tend to be, better generalists, because they are the people who have to interact with all of the departments when they're selling. That's my point.
If they have had the opportunity to interact with other departments, right? Again, a lot of companies are very, very siloed. They're very siloed. So you need to ask the right questions to understand, hey, what have they contributed to marketing? What have they contributed to product, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a good fit. If they know sales and they can close sales, like, bring them on for sure. But if you're looking for somebody that can close sales and also contribute to your roadmap, think outside of the box, everything that we just talked about, ask the questions to understand, hey, how have you worked with product teams in the past? What have you contributed? How does that impact revenue, right?
I think my point was that I'm talking about smaller teams, not from the corporate world. Because the thing is, when the sales, they're on the front line and they say, okay, our clients want this, and they go to the product team and they kind of start describing the product the customers want. And the same to the marketing department. They say, okay, from what I see talking to the clients, we probably should pivot to marketing a little bit to target those people, because there is a market. Maybe not sales. I'm just saying the people who are on the front line, the ones who are talking to the customers, they're normally the ones who can kind of communicate all of those needs within all of the departments, or just people inside the team.
Yep.
All right. So if we don't have any questions, we normally, Lindsay, we ask for the for the last words from you, like of encouragement or discouragement to the early stage founders.
I think if you have any ideas, map it out. If you have any questions after looking at the deck, shoot me a DM. Feel free to share my Telegram, Eugene, or DM me on LinkedIn. I push out stuff on LinkedIn all the time. Twitter's all right. Twitter's fine. I like LinkedIn a little bit better. I treat LinkedIn like Twitter. I try to be a little bit more humorous and like degen on there. I try to be like a troll, to be honest with you, but I do push out a lot of things like this on LinkedIn. So feel free to follow me there. And I highly encourage you guys to check out the podcasts, especially that Biz Banter one that focuses a little bit more. It's called like the octopus in the silos. And I go into a little bit more about this stuff too. But yeah, I'm always happy to have a conversation and keep in touch, and just let me know.
Yeah, we have the feedback form that we are pushing after each session, and you can mark there that you want to connect with Lindsay, and we will take care of that. So thank you again. It was an awesome session. I'm pretty sure that the founders will take a lot away from it, and hopefully they will implement it shortly, so we can review that actually, because we'll be looking into that. So Thanks again to you, and thanks to everyone for joining in.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.